This is Earl Nightingale, speaking to you from a wood-paneled studio in the quiet heart of an evening hour, where the warm crackle of vinyl hums like a distant hearth. A golden microphone glows with the promise of truth, and the faint scent of aged oak carries a message meant for you. Yes, you, listener, alone in the stillness, perhaps by a dim lamp, your heart weary for battles lost, yet stirred by a faint spark of hope. The world outside is hushed, its people drifting through days they did not choose, their minds echoing thoughts they did not forge. But here, in this moment, we share a revelation, a light to pierce the fog of failure, a call to awaken the soul. Before we embark on this journey, a journey that may unveil the silent chains that bind your dreams, that may kindle a fire in the ashes of your heart, that may lead you to a life reclaimed, I invite you to join our fellowship of seekers. These are the souls who dare to question the echoes they've been given, who burn with the quiet flame of awareness, who refuse to drift like leaves on a river they never charted. If this message stirs your heart, if it lights a lantern in the silence of your mind, I urge you to share it by subscribing to this program. Write to us, join our great conversation, and let us know you stand with us by leaving your mark of approval. Your voice strengthens this circle, and together we can forge a brotherhood of those who see the truth, who speak the truth, who live the truth. Now, settle in, for we speak of what you've been missing, the secret to rise above failure, the key to unlock your soul, the sail to catch the wind of your destiny. Will you hear it? Will you heed it? Will you become it? The choice is yours, and the moment is now. Failure is not your enemy. Forgetting who you are is. This truth, my friends, is as ancient as the stones that stand on windswept hills, as simple as a single spark in a darkened wood, yet so profound it shakes the soul like thunder rolling through a silent valley, awakening the heart with a call to rise. Most people fail not because they lack strength, nor skill, nor time, but because they're not awake, not truly awake. They live as sleepwalkers, their minds filled not with thoughts they chose, but with echoes whispered by others long ago, by parents who taught them to fear, by schoolmasters who taught them to obey, by systems that shape their days into chains they call routine. They act from old programming, their steps guided by thoughts they never questioned, their dreams dimmed by beliefs they never forged, their lives a cycle of failure not because they tried and fell, but because they never tried the handle of the door that stood open all along. This idea, that man is not fully awake, that his failures are the fruit of a mind unclaimed, was once a whisper, faint and fleeting, shared among the wise in the quiet of starlit groves, passed from philosopher to sailor in the hush of a calm sea, from teacher to mason in the glow of an oil lamp, from shepherd to merchant in the flicker of a hearth's flame, until it grew, swelling like a river breaking its banks, resounding like thunder, awakening those who dare to hear it, shattering the echoes that bind the soul. Picture a village, its fields cloaked in the haze of dawn, its people moving in rhythm with the toll of a distant bell, their lives bound by thoughts they did not choose, their hearts heavy with a longing they cannot name. Into this village comes a wanderer, his eyes alight with a fire that cuts through the haze, his voice carrying a message that stirs the air like a storm approaching. He speaks of the mind, not as a mirror reflecting the world, but as a forge shaping it, a mind programmed not by iron, but by thought, a mind that can be reclaimed by a single act of courage, to ask, whose dream do I live? The villagers pause, their hearts quickening, their eyes lifting from the ground to the stars. But the keepers of order grow uneasy. These words, they declare, are too bold, too unsettling, too bright. They threaten the rhythm of the village, the certainty of its harvest, the silence of its conformity. And so, they urge the people to forget the wanderer's words, to return to their plows, their anvils, their ledgers, to let the bell dictate their lives, to let the fog of echoes settle over their souls. But truth, my friends, is not so easily silenced. It is like a seed that, once planted, cannot be uprooted, like a fire that, once kindled, cannot be quenched, like a river that, once loosed, cannot be dammed, like a star that, once risen, cannot be veiled. The wanderer's words spread, whispered in the glow of hearths, shared in the quiet of fields, carried on the winds that sweep across oceans and plains, etched into the hearts of those who dare to listen. They reach the merchant, his hands worn from years of trade, his heart stirred by the possibility of building not just wealth, but a legacy forged by his own thoughts. They reach the mason, his chisel steady against the stone, his soul awakened to the vision of crafting not just walls, but a life of purpose shaped by his own mind. They reach the clerk, his days spent in the shadow of routine, his heart stirred by the dream of writing not just figures, but a story of meaning forged by his own beliefs. They reach the craftsman, his tools worn from years of labor, his mind ignited by the call to shape not just wood or iron, but a destiny of his own design. They reach the teacher, her voice soft in the glow of an oil lamp, her soul awakened to the vision of planting not just knowledge, but seeds of awareness in the minds of others. They reach the shepherd, his staff steady on the hills, his heart stirred by the possibility of guiding not just sheep, but a life shaped by his own vision. These words, once a whisper, became thunder, a resounding call that pierced the fog of failure, that shattered the chains of borrowed thought, that lit a fire in the souls of those who heard them. I shared a fragment of this truth years ago in a message called The Strangest Secret, when I said, we become what we think about most of the time, and that's the strangest secret. These words are the spark that ignites your purpose, the seed that breaks the cycle of failure, the thunder that can awaken you. If you're tired of failing, listener, this is what you've been missing. The chance to hear this truth, to let it become thunder, to forge a life shaped by your own mind. Do you feel that whisper stirring in your heart? Do you sense its quiet urgency, its promise of freedom? Will you let it pass like a fleeting breeze, or will you let it become thunder, shaking the foundations of your world? The seed of your freedom lies buried within you, my friends, not in the fields you toil, nor the houses you build, nor the years you count, but in the soil of your own soul, waiting beneath centuries of dust, yearning for the light of awareness. Many fail not because they lack the seed, but because they never knew it was there. Their lives a cycle of effort without vision, of labor without purpose, of dreams dimmed by thoughts they never questioned. Awareness, true awareness, is like lifting a blindfold inside the mind, like finding a door you thought was locked, like seeing a field you thought was barren stretched green and boundless before you. It is the realization that the thoughts you carry are not your own, but echoes of voices that told you to stay small, to repeat, to drift, so familiar you mistook them for your own truth. Picture a man, his days spent in a quiet village, his hands busy with tasks he never chose, his heart heavy with an ache he cannot name. For 40 years, he worked the same field, raised children, built a house, yet never once asked, whose dream am I living? He walked in a circle, his eyes open, but his mind blindfolded, never knowing the door to freedom was never locked, never seeing the seed of awareness buried in his own soul, never trying the handle that could set him free. Most men live this way, my friends. Their failures not the fall of their hands, but the sleep of their minds, their lives bound by the rhythm of unexamined thought, their fields left barren by the weight of echoes. Picture the merchant, his ledger filled with figures, his dreams buried beneath the weight of routine, believing his life must be trade alone, never questioning the blindfold that shaped his thoughts, never seeing the door that stood open to a life of his own design. He counts coins without vision, and wonders why his wealth feels hollow, why his heart aches for more, why his soul remains a field unplowed. Picture the mason, his hands worn from stone, his heart heavy with the patterns of his fathers, believing his toil must be endless, never questioning the tradition that binds him, never seeing the seed of awareness that could set him free. He builds without purpose, and wonders why his walls feel lifeless, why his soul feels barren, why his life feels like a river uncharted. Picture the clerk, his days spent in the shadow of ledgers, his voice silenced by the weight of duty, believing he must echo, never questioning the blindfold of routine, never seeing the life that waits beyond. He writes without dreaming, and wonders why his days feel like a fire unlit, why his heart remains a spark, why his life feels like a field unsown. The seed of awareness is within you, my friends, not in the world beyond. It is the courage to see the blindfold, the will to ask the question, the faith to try the handle, the purpose to tend the soil of your mind. Yet how forgotten this seed remains, buried beneath the dust of a life unexamined, smothered by the voices that tell you to conform, to repeat, to stay asleep. The world would have you believe that awareness is a burden, that to question is folly, that to awaken is to risk the comfort of routine. But I tell you now, the wise know this truth. To live without awareness is to live in a cage, to walk in a circle, to leave the seed of your soul unsown, to fail not by falling, but by never rising. This secret is not new, my friends, nor is it hidden. It is older than the scrolls of sages, as timeless as the tides that carve the shores, as eternal as the stars that guide the sailor's way, as enduring as the fire that burns in the forge of the heart, as steadfast as the earth beneath a farmer's plow, as boundless as the sea beneath a sailor's keel. The wise of every age knew it, lived it, built their lives upon it, leaving legacies that stand like the roots of ancient oaks, like the sails of ships that crossed uncharted seas, like the fires that burned in quiet forges. The Stoics, in their robes of quiet thought, knew that a man becomes what he allows himself to think, that thoughts are not winds to be tossed by, but sails to be set, that the mind is not a mirror reflecting the world, but a forge creating it. They knew that most men fail because they live as echoes, their thoughts shaped by others, their lives bound by patterns they never questioned. Their wisdom was a flame that burned through centuries, a constellation that guided souls through the fog of conformity, a field that bloomed through time. The builders of ships, their hands steady against the wood, knew that their craft was not merely a vessel for waves, but a journey of thought, a steering by inner stars, a choice to forge belief where others saw only storms. They thought not just of harbors, but of destinies, and their voyages became a river, a testament to the power of a mind reclaimed, a fire that burned through the ages. The blacksmiths, their hammers ringing in the quiet trade of iron, knew that their work was not mere tools, but beliefs, beliefs forged into form, beliefs that shaped lives, beliefs that broke the chains of repetition. They thought not just of labor, but of mastery, and their creations became a testament to the power of thought, a fire that burned through generations. Consider the shepherd, his staff steady on the hills, who knew that his flock was not merely sheep, but thoughts, thoughts tended with care, thoughts that guided his life, thoughts that led to peace. He thought not just of pastures, but of eternity, and his life became a field, a fire that burned through time, a river that flowed to the sea. Picture the teacher, her voice soft under the glow of an oil lamp, who knew that her lessons were not mere words, but seeds, seeds that could awaken the mind, that could light a fire in the hearts of those who heard them, that could forge a legacy eternal. She thought not of rote, but of truth, and her words became a constellation, a map for souls lost in the fog of echoes. Picture the craftsman, his tools worn from years of care, who knew that his work was not merely objects, but purpose carved into every grain, purpose that shaped his world, purpose that lifted him from failure. He thought not just of toil, but of creation, and his works became a testament to the power of a mind reclaimed. The wise were not different from you, my friends. They were simply awake, their minds alive with thoughts of what could be, their hearts bold with the fire of purpose, their hands forging a life of meaning through the power of thought. While others drifted, the wise steered. While others echoed, the wise spoke truth. While others failed, the wise rose. They spoke the truth. They lived the fire. They sowed the seeds. They kindled the forges. And they reaped the fields of eternity. As I said in The Strangest Secret, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. The wise knew this, my friends. They knew that their thoughts were the hammer, the sail, the seed, the fire, the forge that could lift them from failure to freedom, from conformity to creation, from the fog of echoes to the light of purpose. Why, then, do so many remain asleep, their lives a cycle of failure, their dreams buried beneath the weight of sameness, their souls drifting on waters they did not chart? The answer lies in the soft trap of comfort, the gray lullaby of routine, the velvet rope that binds the heart to slumber. Picture a vast plain, cloaked in twilight, where men move in herds, their steps guided by an unseen bell, their eyes open, but their minds shut, their hearts dim with dreams they never dared to dream. This is the sleep of the many, my friends, a gentle captivity woven by systems that cradle the soul to rest, by habits that dull the mind, by echoes that bury the spirit. The world rewards sameness, gray buildings, gray routines, gray thoughts. Its schoolrooms weaving followers, not creators, teaching you to recite, to obey, to echo the shadows of yesterday, not to question, not to dream, not to light the forge of your soul. The office, with its ticking clocks and endless tasks, is a ship adrift, bound not to a star but to a cycle, demanding your hours, not your heart, rewarding those who silence their vision, chaining your spirit to the rhythm of sameness, until your dreams fade like a river unclaimed. The village, with its quiet hearths and familiar paths, expects you to stay small, to echo the lives of those before you, to let your heart dim like a star at dawn, to let your field wither, your forge grow cold. Failure often comes dressed as comfort, my friends, its warmth so familiar, its chains so gentle, they seem like home. Consider the merchant, taught to trade the same goods, to follow the same routes, to silence the dreams that stirred within, for the village needs his wares, and sameness is safe. He counts coins, yet his heart remains heavy, his soul a spark unkind led, his life a dream unlived. Consider the mason, taught to lay the same stones, to build the same walls, to bury the visions of grandeur that whisper in his heart, for the village needs its shelters, and tradition is law. His chisel moves, yet his spirit drifts, weary with duty, his life a field unspun, his dreams of fire unlit. Consider the clerk, taught to write the same figures, to follow the same ledgers, to silence the voice that speaks of purpose, for the village needs its records, and routine is enough. His pen moves, yet his heart aches, his mind dulled by years of echo, his life a field half sown, a river uncharted. These are the soft traps, my friends, the gentle fog that binds the soul, keeping you safe from risk, but also from freedom, keeping you asleep while your dreams fade, while your fire dies, while your field remains barren. The world fears the awakened soul, for a man or woman who awakens is a force unyielding, a flame unquenchable, a tide unstoppable, a star unerring, a river unbound, a forge eternal. They fear a merchant who dreams beyond trade, who might build a legacy that awakens his village, who might kindle a fire that spreads through time. They fear a mason who thinks of grandeur, who might build not just walls, but hope, a life that reshapes a world. They fear a clerk who envisions purpose, a story that inspires, a fire that burns through generations. To wake up hurts, my friends. It is heavy, like lifting a stone from a field, like stepping into a dawn with no map, like kindling a fire in a storm. The world would whisper that comfort is enough, that sameness is peace, that failure is fate. But I tell you, as I said in Lead the Field, most people tiptoe through life, hoping to make it safely to death. To sleep is to drift, to fail not by falling, but by never rising, to live a life half-lived, to die with your potential buried, a field unplanted, a forge unlit, a river uncharted. And now, my friends, we come to the heart of what you've been missing. The truth that breaks the cycle of failure, the key that unlocks the forge, the sail that catches the wind of your destiny. It is this. You become what you think about most of the time. Speak these words, my friends, and let them take root in your soul. They are not a fleeting thought, but a law, as eternal as the stars, as unyielding as the anvil, as steadfast as the earth beneath your feet, as boundless as the sea. Write them down, as you would a sacred verse, in the quiet of your chamber, by the glow of a lamp, on a page that will become the map of your freedom. Whisper them each dawn, like lighting a fire against the dark, each dusk, like setting your sail for a star, until they echo in your heart like a blacksmith's hammer. Guide your soul like a sailor's compass. Light your path like a teacher's flame. Shape your destiny like iron on an anvil. These are not mere words. They are a force, a principle, a truth that carves rivers through stone, kindles fires through time, plants fields through eternity. They are the key to undoing the echoes, to reclaiming your mind, to rising above failure. Plant this truth in the fertile soil of your thoughts. Water it with faith, tend it with action, light it with courage, forge it with will, and watch as your life becomes a field of majesty, a river of freedom, a forge that no shadow can dim. Picture a merchant, his shop small and dim, his life once a cycle of failure, trading the same goods, his heart heavy with the weight of routine. He hears this truth, perhaps from a broadcast like this, and he writes it down. You become what you think about. It stirs him, like a spark in dry tinder, like a seed lifted by wind. He begins to think, not of trade, but of legacy, to imagine a life where his work builds not just wealth, but hope, a mind that inspires his village. He whispers these words each morning, trades with purpose, invests each day in vision, and in time, his shop becomes a beacon, his work a legacy of dignity, his life a field that blooms with meaning, a forge kindled by the fire of his thoughts. Picture a mason, his hands worn from stone, his life once marked by failure, building the same walls, his heart dim with the shadow of sameness. He hears these words from a passing sage, and they ignite, like a hammer striking iron, a flame breaking through fog. He writes them down, he speaks them daily, and begins to think, not of walls, but of purpose, to build not just shelters, but dreams, a soul that lives free. His chisel moves with purpose, his walls become a testament, his life a field that blooms through time, a river forged by the power of his mind. Picture a clerk, his days once quiet, his life a cycle of failure, his voice an echo of others, his heart heavy with unvoiced dreams. He hears this truth by a hearth, and it awakens him, like a fire in twilight, a sail catching wind. He writes it down, He whispers it and begins to think, not as an echo, but as a creator, to envision a life of purpose, to shape his days like a craftsman shapes wood. His life becomes a quiet triumph, a constellation of dreams, a forge that no doubt can extinguish. Picture the craftsman, his tools once idle, his life a rhythm of failure, his heart heavy with unasked questions. He hears these words, and they stir him, like a spark in the night, a tide turning. He writes them down, speaks them as he works, and begins to think, not of labor, but of mastery, to forge tools that shape a village, to shape a mind that shapes a life. His tools ring with purpose, his work a flame that endures, his life a forge that no echo can dim. Picture the teacher, her lamp dim, her life once marked by failure, her heart bound by routine. She hears these words from a fellow soul, and they ignite, a star guiding her sky, a promise of freedom. She writes them down, speaks them to her students, and begins to think, not of lessons, but of awakening, to plant seeds that change lives, to shape a legacy of truth. Her words become a river, her life a beacon, her forge a compass that no storm can sway. Picture the shepherd, his staff still, his life once a cycle of failure, his heart silenced by the weight of sameness. He hears these words, and they light his soul, like a fire in a storm, a seed breaking stone. He writes them down, speaks them, and begins to think, not of sheep, but of guidance, to shape a life that leads, to forge a soul eternal. His hills become a constellation, his life a field of time, his forge a flame that no age can dim. These are the lives of those who were tired of failing, who spoke this truth, who reclaimed their minds, who broke the echo, who forged their destinies. They were not mighty, but awake, not gifted, but deliberate, not destined, but chosen. This is what you've been missing, the power to speak these words, to shape your thoughts, to rise above failure. And now, my friend, I speak to you, you who listen in the quiet of your night, alone by a lamp's glow, your heart heavy with the weight of failures past, yet alive with the faint pulse of possibility, a solitary soul standing at the crossroads of your life, discouraged but listening, ready to kindle a fire within. I speak as if this were my final message, as if these words were the last I might ever send into the ether, as if you stood in a moment eternal, a child of time, choosing the path of your soul. You are not an echo, not a shadow, not a drifter bound to failure, not a soul destined to circle in twilight, not a life to fade. You are a creator, a merchant with legacies to build, a mason with dreams to shape, a clerk with stories to write, a craftsman with purpose to forge, a teacher with seeds to plant, a shepherd with hills to guide, a soul with a destiny to claim. The truth you've heard tonight is yours to live, not to hold, but to forge, not to ponder, but to plant a seed to sow, a fire to kindle, a river to sail. Do not let it slip away, my friend, like a whisper in the dark, a spark unlit, a seed unturned, a fire unlit. Choose one thought now, perhaps to speak purpose at dawn, to sow vision in your work, to steer by your own star, and let it be the seed of your awakening, the spark of your forge. Whisper it, with courage, with faith, with the fire of your soul, with the strength of your will, and let it shape you, forge you, guide you to a life that shines eternal. Plant your field, light your forge, sail your seas, write your truth, follow your river, and let the world marvel at what you become. Your life is a forge, not a cage, a field, not a shadow, a river, not a chain, a fire, not a flicker, a constellation, not a star. Will you kindle it tonight? This is Earl Nightingale, your companion in this hour, speaking not with farewell, but with a call to awaken, a life to forge, a field to plant, a destiny to sail. If this message has stirred your heart, join our fellowship. Write to us, share your thoughts, and let us know you're with us by leaving your mark of approval. Let us stand as those who speak truth, who live free, who kindle fires, who sow fields. The choice is yours, my friend, and the moment is now. Failure is not the end. It's the bell that calls you back to the forge.